Halo is a game and universe that I hold quite dear to my heart. My first video game was Halo. Some of my first memories are of playing Halo with my father. To me, Halo represents a key facet of my formalization as a human being. The early love for science fiction transforming into my current career path as a prospective biologist. One of the most impactful pieces of inspiration taking the form of the different Covenant species. As a kid, I was fascinated with the idea of alien species with their own morphologies and unique quirks. All of this is to say, I want to talk about it, and you're stuck here with me for the ride.
When we joined the Covenant, we took an oath.
According to our station, all without exception.
On the blood of our fathers, on the blood of our sons, we swore to uphold the Covenant.
Even to our dying breath.
Those who would break this oath are heretics, worthy of neither pity nor mercy.
As you can guess from the wonderfully rendered cutscene we just sat through, today we are talking about the Sangheili, or as they're known by the average ground-pounding Marine, the Elites. The Sangheili, or Mactocognatus if you want to be fancy, are saurian in nature. That is to say, they likely descend from some sort of reptilian ancestor. They have leathery skin with scattered patches of scales, 2 arms ending in 4-fingered hands, and 2 digitigrade legs. Standing on average between 2.25 and 2.62 meters, the Sangheili strike an imposing figure. They are immensely muscular, being several times as strong as an average human, and are able to exert force comparable to that of a Mjolnir armored Spartan. This athleticism extends to their reflexes and agility as well, being well reflected in their movement around the battlefield. Sangheili cranium is characterized by a unique mouth structure formed of 4 individually hinged mandibles, which are as unique to the individual as a fingerprint is to a member of humanity. In the realm of sensory organs, they exhibit 2 forward-facing eyes and 2 very sensitive nostrils located beneath each eye socket. Overall, the Sangheili are a species primed for violence, exhibiting many of the physical characteristics you would expect to find in a predatory species. A brief side note, they do experience sexual dimorphism similar to Homo sapiens, but in a very reduced manner, with females being slightly smaller than males, but exhibiting most if not all of the same physical traits. Oddly enough, one of the biggest differences between the sexes is how they smell, with males giving off a faint leathery scent, while females are said to smell like clean feathers. Internally, Sangheili are very complex. They feature a binary circulatory system with 2 hearts that constantly pump indigo-colored blood throughout their extremities. This is likely necessary due to their large size and enhanced musculature's aerobic requirements. In terms of respiration, they are similar to humanity, their homeworld's atmosphere featuring a nitrogen-oxygen mix similar to that of Earth. In addition, it has been noted they have a similar digestive system to humans. This system features a stomach, intestines, anus, yeah, I know, I said the funny word, and esophagus. When it comes to reproduction, Sangheili are considered oviparous, or egg-laying. After laying, these eggs are swiftly placed into incubation chambers similar to what is used in commercial reptile breeding, but a little more sci-fi. Following hatching, the most notable difference between the young and adults apart from size is the presence of a vestigial overlapping set of scales on their neck that are lost as they age. These scales are hypothesized to be left over from a time when female Sangheili would carry the young by mouth. Typically, Sangheili can expect relatively long lives, with many combat-active warriors being depicted as being in their 50s to 60s, with some of the oldest having served into their 2nd century. The Sangheili are a warrior culture at their core. Values such as honor, duty, and loyalty are so ingrained into their society that many of them would rather fall by their own blade than commit any act that could tarnish their reputation. This has led to a society led almost entirely by generals and warlords, while their civilian and scientific counterparts are viewed as somewhat lesser in social standing. In fact, Sangheili doctors are often viewed with a certain stigma, as it is seen as a great dishonor to seek treatment for injuries sustained in battle. It is better to die from your wounds with honor than be treated and live as a coward. All of this being said, violence isn't necessarily well looked upon by the Sangheili outside of the battlefield. Strict codes of honor prevent wanton murder on the streets of Sanghelios, with the spilling of blood outside of battle seen as a serious taboo. This code of conduct has led to a very complex societal structure that is semi-feudalistic in nature, with different keeps and clans being led by a figure known as a Kaidan. Kaidans are the leaders of Sangheili society. They are often great warriors and tacticians who have earned their place through their actions. This idea of station by merit is very common in Sangheili society and can be found in all facets of their governing system. This is especially prominent in their military structure. You can safely assume that the rank of a Sangheili soldier directly corresponds to the foes they've slaughtered and the battles they've won. This martial meritocracy can be further exemplified by who is allowed to wield their iconic weapon, the energy sword. Only the most skilled and well-decorated swordsmen are allowed to carry the energy sword, even if all childlings are trained in the basics of swordsmanship. These swordsmen are completely committed to the honing of their craft, giving up their rights to marriage for the right to carry the weapon. That being said, they are still allowed to have children with as many female Sangheili as they wish in order to pass the swordsman gene to the next generation. The only exception to this rule is when it comes to the larger Sangheili military structure, such as the one seen within the Covenant. Within the military, an aristocratic title is unnecessary, and the weapon can be carried by any Sangheili who has the necessary skill. Bringing the conversation back a bit, I would like to go into a deeper dive of the Sangheili's concept of honor. If there is one ideal that most, if not all, Sangheili aspire to, it is that of the honorable warrior. They have immense respect, admiration, and reverence for strong, brave, and honorable warriors. This respect is not just reserved for their own species. Any warrior that meets their criteria is given the utmost respect. Even their enemies can raise their scaly brow if they meet the standards of the Sangheili. It is not uncommon in Sangheili culture for the victors of a conflict to welcome their defeated foes into their own forces as long as they fought with the requisite honor. A prime example of this would be the Ungoi Rebellion. The Ungoi, better known as grunts by Unity ground pounders, are a simian, methane-breathing species found on the planet of Balaho. Within the Covenant, they have been historically given the roles of cheap labor and lightly armed cannon fodder. While this may seem like a rather poor spot in the Covenant hierarchy, they are in a much better place compared to pre-Rebellion. Prior to Rebellion, the Ungoi were seen as little more than slaves, often used for dangerous labor and suicidal advances into enemy lines. Within the military, they weren't permitted so much as a plasma pistol to defend themselves. This level of neglect and abuse, combined with a series of events that took place between the Ungoi and Kigyar, led to a widespread rebellion that shocked the more dominant species within the Covenant. The Grunt Rebellion was so vicious that the Sangheili, who at the time led the Covenant in all matters military, had to partially glass their home planet of Balaho, forcing the Ungoi to surrender or lose their homeworld. Despite the failure of the rebellion, the tenacity of the Ungoi impressed their Sangheili superiors immensely. From this point forward, the Sangheili allowed the Ungoi to finally carry weapons into combat. They basically said, "Wow dude, didn't know you were crazy like that, let's give this goober a fuel rod cannon." On a final note, an interesting quirk in the Sangheili Honor Code is their view on political assassination. In their minds, it's perfectly acceptable to JFK somebody, because if you're too weak to survive an energy dagger in the back, they're better off without you. The Sangheili first appeared in the galaxy on the planet of Sanghelios. Sanghelios is a harsh world when compared to the likes of Earth. It is a large planet with a diameter of over 15,000 kilometers and features much harsher temperatures, weather patterns, and gravity. Temperatures on Sanghelios are warmer than the average you would find on Earth, varying from as low as 23 to well over 200 degrees Fahrenheit. This extreme temperature is caused by the presence of 3 suns named Urs, Fide, and Jori. I really hope I pronounced that right. I honestly am not sure. Please feel free to correct me down in the comments. The planet is covered in large amounts of desert, forcing the Sangheili to live mostly in coastal regions. In addition to this harsh and unforgiving landscape, there are a plethora of predators to be found. Animals, such as the Helios squirrel, present a constant danger in the wilds of Sanghelios. This harsh environment is a big contributor in the evolution of Sangheili biology and culture, playing a large role in turning them into the imposing warriors they are today. Our knowledge of their history begins in the aftermath of the Forerunner Flood War, a galaxy-spanning conflict between the galaxy's dominant force and a universe-defying parasite we will cover in later videos. Having been reseeded on their home planet following the firing of the Halo Array, the Sangheili eventually developed into a space-faring species. Having developed slip space technology, they were able to venture into the void of space and colonize worlds outside of their home system. This all came to a head in the year 938 BCE when the Sangheili came into contact with a species known as the Sanchium. The Sanchium, otherwise known as the Prophets, were a hyper-religious species that revered the aforementioned Forerunners as gods. They traveled through the galaxy searching for Forerunner relics to be worshipped and utilized in their religious endeavors. They often took these relics and reverse-engineered advanced technology from them, such as weapons and spacefaring technology. This use of Forerunner technology sparked conflict between the Sanchium and the Sangheili, who believed Forerunner artifacts to be sacred and viewed the Sanchium's tinkering as blasphemy. This difference in theology led to a brutal war with massive casualties on both sides. The sheer military prowess of the Sangheili was matched by the reverse-engineered technology of the Sanchium. with their most impressive armament being a Forerunner dreadnought that was nigh unbeatable in open conflict. This war became so intense that the Sangheili gave up their views and resorted to utilizing their own relics to combat the threat. Eventually, peace was signed between the two species, with the Sancheum agreeing to dismantle the dreadnought as a sign of friendship. This peace treaty led to a partnership between the two species, with the Sancheum informing the Sangheili of the Great Journey. The Great Journey is the belief that through the use of Forerunner technology, and most notably the activation of the Halo Array, one could be transformed into a godlike being. This is something that we learned to be categorically false in the first Halo game, but to the Sangheili was paramount to scripture. In the year 852 BC, the Writ of the Union was signed by both sides, forming a partnership between the species known as the Covenant. The Covenant is a militaristic, religious, multi-species society initially led by both the Sancheum and the Sangheili as partners. The Sancheum saw to the general running of society as well as the religious health of the Covenant, while the Sangheili formed the military might and muscle. For all intents and purposes, the two species held an equal partnership, at least until much later when the balance of power shifted away from the Sangheili. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's talk about the Human Covenant War, the conflict and setting of the Bungie Halo titles. The Human Covenant War was a conflict incited by the Sancheum in a bid to hold onto their power within the Covenant. Three Sancheum, known as Lord Moran, Ord Casto, and Hod Rumpt, I really hope I'm pronouncing that right, I'm totally not sure, who are later recognized as the prophets of regret, truth, and mercy respectively, made a discovery that would tear apart the very fabric of the Covenant. The Great Journey was a lie. The Halo Array was not a path to salvation, but a weapon of unimaginable magnitude. In the process, they also discovered humanity's status as reclaimers, meant to inherit the mantle of responsibility from the Forerunners they worshipped as gods. This knowledge led to a plan of immense manipulation, where they put themselves in power and declared that humanity must be purged from the galaxy and could not be extended an invitation into the Covenant as they would with any other species. This callous call for genocide rankled some veteran Sangheili, but ultimately they followed along and enacted the called-for purge of humanity. Within the Covenant military, the Sangheili serve as a leader caste, often holding roles such as shipmasters, admirals, and generals. In the lower ranks, they serve as elite shock troops, special ops, and leaders for the other members of the Covenant. They earn the nickname Elite from the UNSC due to their battle prowess compared to the other species humanity faced. The elites would lead a holy war against humanity up until the events of the Great Schism. The Great Schism, in very basic terms, was an attempt by the Sancheum to remove the elites from their places of power within the Covenant and replace them with more easily manipulated brutes or Jiralhanai. This led to a civil war within the Covenant and tentative alliance between humanity and the elites, with both learning the truth of the Halo rings and striving to prevent the prophets from activating the array. One notable figure who will most likely get his own video in the future is the Sangheili known as Thel Vadami, the Acting Arbiter. He serves as the current leader of the Swords of Sanghelios and led the Sangheili during the Great Schism and the rebellion against the Covenant. Additionally, he was present for the climax of the final game in the original trilogy. The Sangheili are a brilliantly crafted species with a detailed history and culture. I have only covered the bare basics of their society, culture, and biology in this video, and will most certainly be diving deeper into the nitty-gritty in later videos. If you enjoyed my rambling lore dump, I encourage you to leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below what I should cover next. Thank you so much for tuning in, and may your Halo 2 energy sword skip never be patched.